Did you know there's an Israeli propaganda trip happening right now? If you don't know, now you know. And if you do know, welcome back to Boycott Birthright and Other Free Trips to Israel, our series where we've been following the Birthright trip happening right now, looking at the itinerary and exposing the propaganda behind each day. Before we look at today's itinerary, I just want to remind you guys that what Israel doesn't mention on these trips is just as important as what they do mention. So when they don't mention the crimes that they've committed throughout history and on a daily basis, that's very deliberate. Well, because that's the whole point of propaganda, right? To put it really simply, Israel wants to put forward an idealized view of the country, so they'll leave out everything that makes them look bad, like the ethnic cleansing that they commit against Palestinians. Let's get into today's itinerary from the Taglit Birthright website. As you can see here, today Birthright goers are visiting al-Quds, and specifically al-Haram al-Sharif, otherwise known as Temple Mount. And we have a lot to say about this one. Let's start with al-Quds in general. Did you know that Palestinians living in the West Bank and Gaza, and even those who don't live in Palestine at all but hold a Palestinian citizenship, are not allowed to freely travel to Jerusalem without a permit? Although a lot of these permits are denied, let's say a Palestinian does get approved. They still have to cross checkpoints in order to get to Jerusalem, where they'll be subject to search or being turned away. Not to mention, sometimes these checkpoints are only open for hours a day or just closed entirely. That isn't even all the restrictions that's on Palestinians' movement in their own country, but I don't think I have enough time in this video to go over every single one, so we're gonna have to leave it at that for today. But I do want to give you guys a quick example. Say you're a Palestinian living in Ain Yabrud in the West Bank and you want to see a special doctor in Jerusalem. Just going off of the examples of restrictions of movement that I have already mentioned, we can see all the potential barriers to getting healthcare that Palestinians face in their own country. This person will have to schedule their appointment months in advance in order to give enough time for their permit to be approved. If it is approved, they'll have to leave hours ahead of their appointment in order to ensure that they get to the checkpoint while it's still open and that there's enough time to get through, because there's no way of knowing how many people will be there. There's a really sinister irony in thinking about the fact that Israel welcomes foreigners onto Palestinian land while simultaneously denying Palestinians the freedom to move on that land. Let's move on to this compound called al-Haram al-Sharif, which Birthright goers are also visiting today. This compound includes Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the third holiest site in Islam. I'm about to show you a clip from just a couple months ago during the holy month of Ramadan, when the Israeli occupation forces raided Al-Aqsa Mosque during prayer and started to brutally beat worshippers. The clip is very graphic, so content warning. This wasn't the only instance in which the IOF raided Al-Aqsa Mosque this past Ramadan. In fact, this is a routine practice by the Israeli military that happens every year. Also, over 400 Palestinians were arrested after the raid. The double standard is very clear when foreigners are told that they have a birthright to visit Al-Haram al-Sharif, escorted by IOF soldiers, when Palestinians are attacked or barred from going altogether. And those who go on birthright will not learn that just a couple months before, Palestinians were brutalized a few feet away from where they were standing. Birthright creates the structure that allows Israel to maintain its propagandized image as a democracy while deflecting from its human rights violations. And that is why it's so important to boycott Birthright and any other free trip to Israel that you may be offered. It's a very easy step that you can take in order to support Palestinians in our liberation movement. All you have to do is not go. And if you want to learn more about the harmful effects of Birthright, join us for a webinar on June 15th at 6:30 p.m. Central, and of course, keep following along the series where we're exposing the propaganda behind Birthright.